What's up YouTube? It's the World Rebel himself, Jazriel, and in today's video, I'll be explaining controller sense and ALCs. Now, if you remember from my previous video where I stated, if you've seen the videos where, hey, follow my sensitivity and you get godlike aim or zero recoil,
congratulations, you played yourself.
Now that still holds true. There's no such thing as the perfect sensitivity, whereas everyone's level of control and everyone's controller is different. And you need to be able to find a sense that's unique to you. How can you do that? Well, for starters, let's go with understanding ALCs. Now, ALCs, or advanced look controls, fine-tunes your controller sensitivity. Starting with the dead zone, just know that every controller has stick drift, and it just so happens that the older the controller, the more the stick drift. And it is just what it sounds. It's a drift in your analog stick when it's stagnant, not moving at all. I mean, just take a look at mine. Notice how when my controller is not being touched at all, my controller drifts a little bit to the upper right. And then when I place my hand on it and move it, it still continues to drift. Now the dead zone is there to just combat that type of movement. So now if you look back at the dead zone, if you look at the diagram that's over to the right here, picture this white crosshair as your analog stick. Now the moment you move it, it immediately registers inside the game. As such, the moment I move my analog stick is the moment it moves. The moment I make tiny movements are made. When I make big movements, it immediately registers as such. So, going back to the ALCs tab, what the dead zone does, as I increase my controller's dead zone, you notice the circle around the analog stick gets bigger. This is its dead zone range, meaning that if I keep my controller, my analog stick, within this circle, my aim or my camera will not move. But the moment I move my analog stick outside of the circle, it will register. And if you watch, making my small movements, making some movements, and nothing is moving. But the moment I move my analog stick outside of that range, it'll begin to move again. And if you also notice, my stick drift is completely gone. So the dead zone itself is literally all up to the player. Me personally, I like to go with having around 0%, because if you notice, my stick drift isn't great, but it also isn't terrible. So I myself am actually used to controlling my stick drift just naturally with my thumb. Now, everyone is different. If you like to have it at 3%, where there's just a slight amount of stick drift, that's fine. Or you can have it up to 8, where there's absolutely none. It's completely 100% up to you. Next is your outer threshold. The definition of a threshold is a level, rate, or amount at which something comes into effect. So if you look back at the diagram, this blue outer ring is your max stick input. On your controller would be this boundary right alongside which your right stick or your right analog stick cannot go past. So what this does basically is that the higher you make the outer threshold, you notice the circle, this orange circle, gets a little smaller. So that means that as long as I keep my analog stick just at this level or past it, it would be the same effect as me going and hitting the max input. So going into about right here, you see on my aim, you see on my camera here, is equivalent to me going and pulling all the way to the side. Now this particular setting is for another ALC input that we're going to discuss a little bit later. So me, because I used to have it, I keep it at 3%. This one actually doesn't really matter. Like I said, you could just leave it at 3. If you want to change it later from the sensitivity that we're going to talk about soon, you definitely can. But for now, you really don't have to mess with this. Now, if you're enjoying this video so far, go and support by tap shifting over to the like button, wall bounce over to the subscribe button, and then finish with the super glide and one clip on the notification bell. And if you leave a comment, there's a chance you can win $50 in a giveaway. And if you want some more content, check out my live streams here on YouTube. Who knows, I can be live right now. Thank you all so much for the support. Now let's get back to the explanation. The response curve, to simply put, is the response to your stick input sensitivity when the enemy is in your crosshairs. The higher the response curve, the stronger the pull and the slower your aim becomes, leading to a lower margin of error when aiming. However, the less response curve, the opposite, 0 being a raw input of your analog stick. Your aim becomes faster, leading to a higher margin of error, but you can make finer adjustments. For demonstration, when I aim in, right, and he's in my crosshairs, if you notice that even with the slightest movement of my right stick is that exact movement of my aim. So when I start firing, every movement that I make is the exact movement my camera goes. However, if I raise the response curve, let's say to 30, and I aim down, notice that when I'm making them small, fine adjustments, it's not moving at all. But when I make a bigger pull, it's still slower. There's not a drastic pull off the enemy in the crosshairs. So when I start shooting, like I said, there's a less margin of error. So I can pull down a lot stronger without having to worry about my aim shooting off of my target. And it kind of helps, let's say, if we turn his strafe on. Notice how when he's moving as quick as he is now, it's hard for me to make fine adjustments to his turns into a strafe because I have to pull the stick, or I have to pull a stick with a lot more force. However, if it's at 0, I can make really quick adjustments to his change in strafe. Now, you don't have to go as strong as 30, right? 10 can work just fine. 10 is on when you go to your normal sensitivities, when we take a look at that later, response curve of 10 is about equivalent to classic. And as you see, it still works just as fine. While a 0 is very similar, or it is linear, which we'll get to a little bit later. And if you also notice, when my response curve is at 10, I have absolutely no stick drift. However, when it's at 0, the stick drift returns. Now, the yaw and pitch speed for both regular and ADS have exactly the same functions, with your yaw speed being your left and right speed and your pitch speed being your up and down. Now, your turning extra yaw and pitch is basically a boost of speed whenever you're at your right stick's maximum input when there's no enemy in sight. What that means, for demonstrational purposes, I will turn my extra yaw and pitch to 50, and I would drop down my yaw speed and pitch speed to 120. So whenever there is no enemy in sight, my yaw speed and my pitch speed will add to my yaw and pitch of my extra. So I will be moving at around like 370 speed. As you see, whenever I'm not looking at anyone, I'm at 370 speed. However, the moment I put an enemy within my crosshairs, it slows down to 120. And the moment I come out, it speeds back up again. So this is kind of where the outer threshold comes into play, because remember what I said, the extra yaw and extra pitch kick in when you're at your maximum stick input. And if you remember, the outer threshold controls that maximum input. So if I bring it out all the way here, I'll reach my extra yaw and extra speed or extra pitch a lot faster than I would if I were to bring it all the way down to 1. Now, the second thing I'll have to be mindful of, I would be very careful with my yaw and pitch, because, turn this back up, As I stated, the extra yaw and pitch will kick in when you're not only when you're at your maximum stick input, but also when there is no enemies within your crosshair vicinity. So if you're not paying attention and you accidentally breach that limit, you will shoot into your extra yaw and your extra pitch, and you will absolutely fly off target, and it will mess you up, and it could probably get dropped and turned into a death box. So I'll be very cautious about where you put your extra yaw, extra pitch. Me personally, I would not exceed anywhere going over 500. So if you add your yaw with your pitch, it should not go over a total of 500. That's just in my opinion. You can play with this as you like. Me personally, I'm okay without it. I used to use it, not anymore. I used to use it just so I can abuse my movement. It was perfect for that cause. If you wanted to abuse your movement, but at the same time have a fine-tuned aim when it comes to your hip fire and your ADS, or if you wanted to easily flick to your targets, you can increase your extra yaw and pitch for your ADS, but then the moment you're in sight within your enemy, have a slowed and controlled aim. This is what it's used for. But like I said, I'll be very cautious to how high I turn your extra yaw and your extra pitch. Now, in my honest opinion, the ramp up time and the ramp up delay should not be touched at all. All your ramp up time is as exactly as it says. When the stick input is at maximum, how long does it take for your extra yaw and your extra pitch to reach its full strength? So if I'm at 300 and I go to 250, when I reach my maximum stick input, how long do I have to hold it for that my speed to slowly build from that 300 going all the way to that 550? And then your ramp up delay is just when your stick input is at its maximum, how long before applying that. So how long will I pull my stick, keeping it at 300 to when it shoots to 550? I definitely believe that this should not be touched. You should not mess with this at all. Like, trust me, just don't do it. Do not mess with it. Now, for your regular sensitivity, it can be completely up to you, as long as you keep in mind that the higher the sensitivity, the faster your speed, but the less aim assist you get, and also vice versa. The lower your sensitivity, the slower your speeds, but the higher the sensitivity. And then with the response curve, like, you should really only be sticking with linear classic. Like, trust me, all the others, steady, fine aim, high velocity, they're all absolutely dog water. Trust me, do not waste your time trying to use these. Like, it's just not worth it. It tells you on the side what it really does, but it just feels awful. It feels clunky. I've tried it before. Just trust me on this one. Do not use it. The casual or linear will be your best friend. Now, classic is for, to me personally, I feel like classic is for more your casual gamers, because like I said, it's really good sensitivity, and it leaves it has a lower margin of error. So when you mess up your aim, it's okay, because, you know, the classic will kick in for you and it will control the aim for you. Now, if you choose to not be just a casual and you want to push your game to the next level, whether it be in ranked or you want to start playing at a higher competition, personally, I recommend linear. Linear is going to be a little bit harder to control at first because it's going to be a lot faster. But like I said, there's going to be finer adjustments that you can make, and it'll be helpful for you at the mid-range, long range. Now, I would give some recommendations, but honestly, like I said, it's all up to you. Now, you can always find a baseline. You need to find what's comfortable for you. And of course, the most important thing, practice, practice, practice. Now, it's gonna take some time to get used to your sensitivity, at least about a week, and it's gonna take even more time to become proficient at it. So my biggest advice is don't go changing your sense every other day or every week. You need to really stick with one and stick with it for a while. And as you see yourself progressing with it, but you need to tweak some small adjustments, go for it. Now, if you want the recommendations anyway, my recommendations for classic, I would recommend either a 4.4 or a 5.5 classic. It will give you basically the speed that you want, with also, like I said, the aim with the less or with the lower margin of error. So you have a better, like, kind of close range aim, with also you have some speed. Now, if you want to go linear, I would recommend either a 4.3 or 4.4. These are very fast within its own right, and it's going to be very helpful for the mid to long range. And like I said, if you're looking for more and you want to work your way up, I definitely recommend at a later note trying advanced foot controls. Here are mine. If you want to copy it, you can go at 2%. Like I said, the outer threshold doesn't really mind, but here are mine. They're very simple. Now the dead zone, once again, it's really all up to you. If you want to try no dead zone, you can. And this goes for out here as well. If you want to try no dead zone, you absolutely can. But if your stick drift is just so crazy and you can't keep up with it, I would definitely recommend going for a small dead zone. Now, that's all I have for this video. Thank you for those who stuck all the way to the end. I greatly appreciate you all. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for a chance to win $50 in a giveaway. And also hit the notification bell to be the first to know when my next upload will be, or when my next live stream is. I greatly appreciate all your support in this rebellion. I'm the Royal Rebel himself, Jezreel, and I will see you next time. Peace.